Have you ever noticed how, when life throws its hardest challenges at you, your first instinct is to contract, to shrink back into fear, worry, and doubt? It feels like the world is pressing against you, suffocating you, forcing you to ask questions you never thought you would ask. Why is this happening to me? Where is my relief? Will I ever feel peace again? In those moments, your body feels the weight of stress. Your heart beats faster, your chest tightens, and your mind begins to play endless loops of worry and fear. And if you're not careful, you get stuck there, living each day in survival mode, disconnected from faith, disconnected from peace, disconnected from the truth that Allah is still with you. But here's something profound to realize. Difficult times are not here to crush you. They are here to awaken you, to break old patterns of thought, to dissolve the illusions of control, to pull you back to the very source of your strength, your Iman. You see, faith is not just a word we repeat when things are easy. Faith is a state of being. It's how you choose to think, feel, and act in the middle of the storm. And when you decide, yes, decide, to step out of fear and step into trust, you change your entire internal chemistry. You stop living as a victim of life, and you start living as someone connected to the creator of life. Imagine for a moment if the challenges you face right now are not obstacles, but invitations. Invitations to rise. Invitations to strengthen your Iman. Invitations to discover a deeper connection with Allah than you've ever experienced before. That is why we are here. Because your hardship is not your ending. It is your beginning. And today, I want to share with you 5 powerful ways to strengthen your Iman in difficult times. When we talk about strengthening Iman in difficult times, the very first place to begin is inside. It's not about waiting for the storm to pass or for life to finally look the way you want. It's about recognizing that your faith is tested not after the hardship, but in the middle of it. Most people make the mistake of believing they'll feel better only once things improve. They say, when I get the job, when I find healing, when my family problem is solved, then I'll be grateful. Then I'll have stronger faith. But faith doesn't grow in the sunlight of ease. It grows in the darkness of uncertainty. Faith is built when you choose to trust, even when nothing around you gives you a reason to. Think of the way we live in survival mode. When a problem appears, the body reacts instantly. Your heart rate increases, your mind races, your whole being prepares to fight or flee. But if you stay in that state for days, weeks, or even months, you begin to live in a loop of fear. You wake up with worry. You move through the day with anxiety. and you go to bed with the same heavy weight pressing on your chest. Over time, this becomes your normal. You don't realize it, but you've trained your heart to depend more on fear than on Allah. The way out begins with a decision to master your inner state regardless of what's happening outside of you. You can't control whether the storm comes, but you can control how you respond. And that response begins in the heart. It begins with saying, Wa, Allah, I don't know how this will end, but I choose to trust you right now. This is not denial. It's not pretending the problem doesn't exist. It's shifting your attention from the problem to the one who is greater than the problem. When you take this step, something powerful happens. Your body begins to calm. Your breath slows. Your mind clears. The energy of fear starts to fade, replaced by an inner peace that doesn't even make sense given your circumstances. And this peace, that calm in the storm, is one of the greatest signs that your Iman is being strengthened. It is proof that your faith is not tied to outcomes, but to trust. Imagine you're on a ship in the middle of a storm. The waves are violent, the sky is dark, and the wind is howling. Everyone is panicking. Everyone except the captain. Why? Because the captain knows how to navigate storms. He's been here before. He trusts his training, his compass, and his knowledge. In the same way, your life will bring storms, but if you learn to trust Allah as your captain, your heart can be at peace, even while the waves crash around you. Strengthening Iman starts here, with the choice to change your inner state first. If you wait for life to calm down before you decide to trust, you'll always be a prisoner to circumstances. But if you decide to trust first, you step into freedom. You learn that true faith is not built after the test is over. It is built in the very heart of the test. When life becomes difficult, it's not enough only our bodies that feel the weight. It's our minds that take the greatest hit. The challenge with hardship is not only what happens outside of us, but the endless story we repeat inside our heads. We begin to live in cycles of thought. This is never going to end. I'm not strong enough. Maybe Allah is punishing me. Maybe things will always be this way. These thoughts don't just come and go. They carve deep grooves in the brain. The more we repeat them, the stronger they become, until they start to feel like absolute truths. But here's the reality. Your thoughts are not facts. They are choices. And the way you think in difficult times will either drain your Iman or strengthen it. When negative thoughts dominate, they shape the emotions you feel. Worry turns into despair. Despair turns into hopelessness. And hopelessness eventually leads to distance from Allah. It's not because you don't want to believe. It's not because you don't want to believe. It's because you've been rehearsing the wrong mental script for so long that you no longer know how to step out of it. This is why it is so important to catch your thoughts before they take root. Because every time you think a thought, you give it life. Every time you repeat it, you give it power. Breaking this cycle requires awareness. You must start noticing what you say to yourself when no one is listening. Are your thoughts pulling you closer to Allah or pushing you away? The moment you catch a thought that whispers despair, you have the ability to replace it with Allah does not burden a soul beyond. Replace maybes, I'm alone in this, with Allah is closer to me than my jugular vein. Replace my life is ruined with perhaps this hardship is the key to something greater. Every time you make that replacement, you have to have in greater replacement. You begin to rewire the way your brain responds to hardship. Instead of defaulting to fear and negativity, you build a new habit of faith-centered thinking. Over time, this transforms your emotional state. You stop being controlled by your fears and start being guided by your trust in Allah. It may feel strange at first, even forced, but repetition is powerful. Just as you once repeated fear until it became second nature, you can now repeat faith until it becomes your natural response. And imagine the strength of Iman you will carry when your default thought in hardship is no longer despair, but hope, no longer doubt, but trust, no longer fear, but surrender. Your mind is the battlefield where your Iman is either weakened or strengthened. The hardship itself is not the enemy. The enemy is the voice that tells you there is no way out, that Allah has forgotten you, that your prayers don't matter. But once you recognize that voice and refuse to obey it, you take back control. You step out of the prison of your own thoughts and into the freedom of faith. This is where true strength begins, by breaking the cycle of negative thinking and teaching your heart and mind to align with the truth Allah has already promised you. There is a subtle but powerful difference between surrendering to pain and surrendering to the process that Allah has written for you. Many people, when hardship strikes, collapse under its weight and say to themselves, "This is it. My life is over. Nothing will ever be good again." That kind of surrender is dangerous because it kind of traps you inside your suffering and blinds you from seeing the wisdom behind it. But when you surrender to Allah's process, everything changes. You shift from saying, "Why me?" to, "Why Allah, I trust you even if I don't understand this right now." That shift opens the door for your Iman to grow in ways you never imagined. Pain by itself feels empty. It feels like something is being taken away from you. But when you view it through the lens of faith, pain becomes a teacher. It becomes a refining fire that burns away illusions, attachments, and weaknesses that were holding you back. Think of a sculptor chipping away at a block of stone. To the stone, every strike feels like destruction. But to the sculptor, every strike is creation. He is shaping something beautiful, something the stone cannot see yet. In the same way, your hardship is not meaningless. Every strike of pain is carving you into the person Allah knows you can become. Surrendering to the process means acknowledging that there is a wisdom behind your struggle, even if it's invisible now. It means believing that Allah is not punishing you, but preparing you. Every delay, every setback, every heartbreak carries a hidden lesson. Maybe you're being taught patience. Maybe you're being purified from sins. Maybe you're being redirected toward something greater than what you were asking for. The truth is, you don't always need to know why. You just need to know who. And when you know Allah is behind it, you can breathe through the pain and trust the outcome. This kind of surrender does not make you weak. On the contrary, it makes you stronger than you have ever been. Weakness is fighting reality, clinging to what you can't control, and drowning in resistance. Strength is opening your hands and saying, "Ya Allah, write for me what is best. I accept what you have decreed, because you see what I cannot." That act of letting go gives you an inner power that no external storm can shake. When you surrender to the process, you move from being a victim of life to being a student of life. You no longer ask, "Why am I suffering?" Instead, you ask, "What am I meant to learn here? How can I grow closer to Allah through this?" And when you begin to live with those questions, hardship transforms into a path of elevation. It takes you higher, not lower. It makes your iman deeper, not weaker. So the next time you feel crushed by a trial, remind yourself pain is not the end of the story. It is part of a divine process shaping you into who you're meant to be. Don't surrender to the pain. Surrender to the one who gave it to you with wisdom, mercy, and love. That is where true strength of Iman is found. One of the greatest influences on the strength of your Iman during hardship is the environment you place yourself in. Human beings are not isolated creatures. We are shaped, molded, and deeply affected by the people and practices we surround ourselves with. When life gets difficult, your heart is already heavy, your mind is already vulnerable, and your spirit is already tired. In that fragile state, the voices around you matter more than ever. If you are surrounded by people who complain, who feed fear, who speak doubt into every conversation, their energy begins to seep into you. Soon, their despair becomes your despair, their hopelessness becomes your hopelessness, and their distance from Allah pulls you further away from Him without you even realizing it. But the opposite is also true. When you choose to align yourself with people who remind you of Allah, everything changes. Even a single sentence from someone who is connected to their faith can shift your entire perspective. A reminder to pray, a verse from the Quran, a story of hope. These small seeds of light can keep you standing when you feel like falling apart. The Prophet described it beautifully when he said that a person is upon the religion of their closest friend. That means your Iman is not just personal, it is deeply connected to the company you keep. It's not only about people, though. It's also about practices. In difficult times, your body and mind crave distraction. You may want to numb the pain through entertainment, endless scrolling, or drowning yourself in activities that give temporary relief, but no real healing. And while there's nothing wrong with moments of rest, what you repeatedly practice will either nurture your Iman or starve it. Imagine if, instead of reaching for your phone when sadness hits, you reached for the Quran. Imagine if, instead of filling silence with noise, you filled it with dhikr, remembrance of Allah. These small choices are not small at all. They are acts of alignment. They align your daily rhythm with the source of strength you need most. Think of your heart like a garden. In times of ease, it may grow with little attention. But in times of hardship, weeds of fear and despair can grow quickly if you do not tend to it. Good company and good practices are like fresh water and sunlight for that garden. They allow the flowers of faith, trust, and patience to grow, even when the soil feels dry. Without them, the weeds take over, and you begin to feel like you're suffocating spiritually. Aligning yourself with uplifting people and practices does not mean your problems will vanish overnight. But it ensures that while you are carrying them, you are not carrying them alone. It ensures that your mind is not drowning in voices of despair, but surrounded by echoes of hope. And over time, this alignment builds a shield around your Iman. The trials may still come, but they no longer have the power to uproot you. So if you want to strengthen your Iman in difficult times, be intentional with where you place yourself. Sit with those who remind you of Allah, even if it's just one person. Practice the acts that keep your soul alive, even if they feel small. These are not minor decisions. They are lifelines. When they are the anchors that keep your heart steady when the waves of hardship try to pull you under. Most people see hardship as the end of their story. They experience a setback, a heartbreak, a loss, and immediately think, my life is ruined. Nothing good can come from this. But that is a limited view of reality. What looks like an ending to you may, in truth, be the doorway to a completely new chapter Allah is opening. Every difficulty you face carries within it the seed of transformation, the chance to leave behind an older version of yourself and step into a new one. Stronger, wiser, and more connected to your Creator. When you look back at your life, think of the times you grew the most. Was it during moments of comfort, when everything was going your way? Or was it during moments of challenge, when you had to dig deeper, when you had to hold tighter to Allah, when you had to rise above your own fears? Growth rarely happens in ease. It happens in the fire of difficulty, the same way iron must be placed in heat before it becomes strong. The soul must go through trials to reach its full strength. What feels like breaking is often the process of remaking. Seeing hardship as a doorway means you stop labeling your challenges as punishments and start recognizing them as transitions. You are not being broken down. You are being prepared for something greater. Perhaps Allah is removing from your life what no longer serves you. Perhaps He is redirecting you from a path that would have harmed you. Perhaps He is teaching you resilience so that you can carry blessings you would not have been able to hold otherwise. From your limited view, it feels like loss. From Allah's view, it is transformation. But to walk through that doorway, you must be willing to trust. Trust that your future can be different from your past. Trust that Allah can replace what was taken with something far better. Trust that the very thing that feels unbearable today may one day become the reason you shine with gratitude tomorrow. Faith is not only believing that Allah exists, it is believing that He is always writing your story with wisdom, even in the chapters that feel painful. Imagine standing at the edge of a cliff. Behind you is the life you knew, now crumbled. In front of you is a vast horizon you cannot yet see clearly. Most people freeze there, paralyzed by fear of the unknown. But if you place your trust in Allah and step forward, you discover that the cliff was not the end. It was the beginning of a new landscape waiting for you. Hardship is that cliff. It feels like the edge of everything, but it is actually the entrance to a new version of you. Every difficulty is an invitation to evolve. Every trial is a chance to let go of who you were and embrace who Allah is shaping you to become. If you choose to see your hardships this way, you will never again view them as punishments. You will see them as gifts, sometimes disguised, sometimes painful, but always purposeful. And that perspective is what transforms a broken heart into a heart full of faith. When life tests you, when the nights feel endless, when your heart feels heavy and your prayers seem unanswered, it is in those very moments that your Iman has the chance to become stronger than ever before. Hardship was never meant to destroy you. It was meant to awaken you. It was meant to strip away illusions, to silence the noise of the world, and to bring you face to face with the only source of real strength, your connection with Allah. We often think faith is proven when life is easy, when blessings flow, and when everything feels right. But true faith is born in the storm. It is built when you choose trust over fear. That's not enough. When you replace negative thoughts with reminders of Allah's mercy, when you surrender to the process instead of collapsing under the pain, when you surround yourself with people and practices that uplift you, and when you begin to see every difficulty as a doorway to a new future, the storm may shake you, but it cannot uproot you if your roots are deep in Iman. The tears may fall, but they will water the seeds of your growth. The pain may burn, but it will refine you like fire refines gold. Every challenge is an invitation to rise. And the more you lean into Allah during your trials, the more unshakable your heart becomes. So the next time you are overwhelmed, remember this: you are not abandoned. You are being shaped. You are not broken. You are being rebuilt. You are not at the end. You are standing at the doorway of a new beginning. Step through it with faith. Step through it with patience. Step through it knowing Allah is with you and that His mercy is always greater than your hardship. This is how you strengthen your Iman in difficult times, not by waiting for life to change, but by choosing to change the way you meet life. Trust the process. Guard your thoughts. Align with the right people. Surrender fully to Allah. And above all, never lose hope in His mercy. If this message touched your heart, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who might need it right now. And if you want to keep receiving reminders that strengthen your soul and deepen your Iman, make sure to subscribe. Together, we can build a community of hearts that remain strong, no matter how heavy the storm.